real estate. My name is Joel Arndt. I'm a mortgage agent with Sherwood Mortgage Group.
My name is Zach Hunter. I am a sales representative with Lepage Northern Life Realty here in North Bay.
We're going to take the high level look at using how to use real estate to fund retirement, 5 different strategies, and this is meant to spark questions. There will be an opportunity to schedule a meeting with us at the end. And again, like, none of this is, you don't pay for any of this. This is free, and it's all to give you the opportunity to fully explore investing and what it means for you and your retirement, what fits you best. Did the intros before I got to the slide. I'm the one that helps you fund the properties.
I'm the one that helps you find them, what to look for, what not to look for.
Well, we want you to walk out of here knowing what real estate investing strategy fits you best.
How to find solid investment properties, what to look for, what not to look for. Don't get in over your head if you don't have to.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might get in over your head, but it might just be work, not financially. Some people like to roll up their sleeves and work and go from there.
Obviously, how to fund those investments, different properties, different guidelines. So there are certain general rules we can cover today, but specifics, especially according to your situation, is always going to be different. So that's where working with both Zach and I to find and fund the property. You need that team behind you. So we'll touch on that team later on as well.
And then lastly, that's how to use those investments long-term to make retirement comfortable. So you want to invest, you want your investments to work for you. You don't want to just be investing for money and losing money, right? You want to make those things work for you. So retirement time comes, whether you're offloading the properties or you've basically just saved all that money. You have something to play with, maybe for grandkids or their post-secondary or what have you. Just basically so you have a comfortable retirement.
2 pieces of housekeeping to cover here. At the end, we'll have a survey. Again, if you do want to talk about this further, about how it fits your situation specifically, we're going to launch a little survey at the end in Zoom. It'll give you a chance to respond with like morning, afternoon, or evening if you do want to talk to us. And then obviously the gift card giveaway. We haven't forgotten about that, but that's going to happen at the end. So you got to stick around. We're only choosing from the people who are attending. So you're here, and as long as you're still here, you at least get a chance. Nice little sweets. Strategy number 1, buy rental income. Straight up, just buy a rental and use the income to supplement retirement. Why would we do that?
What the easiest way I could think of is there's no other business in the world that's basically funded the most millionaires than real estate. So you're getting multiple streams of income, cash flow. It's basically having 2 incomes. You have your 9-to-5 or shift worker, whatever, you're making X amount of dollars. This is just to supplement that. If you're bringing in cash flow, an extra $1,000 a month, that's an extra $12,000 a year. Whether it's going to renovate a new project, whether it's going to a trip, whether it's whatever you want to do with it, that's up to you. But this is just another avenue of like income, right? An income without showing up 9-to-5 and having to actually work and be in attendance, and whether you're a nurse or whatever, just having that income, steady income. Let someone else pay for your mortgage. Why would you pay for it yourself? Let someone else do that. And then like you got written here, today's prices, tomorrow's rents. You want to get your house cheap. Who doesn't? And you want to try and renovate that home into tomorrow's rents to get top dollar for your rents.
And the longer you hold, the better the rents are getting.
Yeah, rents are only going up right now. Joel and I were just talking before this. There's 2 ways to buy a home. You either get your home cheap or your money cheap. Get your money cheap just means your interest rates are low. Getting your home cheap is more or less your interest rates are a little bit higher like they are now, but the prices is lower. So you can, when you buy a house, you can't change the purchase price, but you can change the interest rate within time. 25-year mortgage, that's 5 times you can change your interest rate without penalty, and your interest rate's probably not going to be the same twice.
And honestly, rents are only going up. I mean, I say that. I mean, I guess in history, technically they have come down, and it would be kind of ignorant to say they couldn't come down, but.
But they're high right now, and I'll take advantage if you can.
I saw this TikTok. One of my teammates sent it to our WhatsApp chat, and it was this news thing from 1988, talking about how Toronto's prices were running away from the market, and what used to sell for $130,000 was now selling for $330,000. And oh my God, how are people going to pay that? So perspective is everything.
Yeah.
Why not? It's not a passive business. The gurus will say real estate is passive. It is not. I mean, you're not spending 40 hours a week on your, in this, but there's management involved. It's houses. Houses need maintenance. It's people. People need management. Now, you can have fantastic tenants and good quality houses, and so it'll be relatively little work. Even if you pick the best tenants and you put in the most work into the house, life happens. Good tenants turn bad. So there's going to be work involved. Just not as much work as your 9 to 5.
Yeah, like Joe was touching on, you're gonna get bad tenants, you're gonna get good ones. The more units you have, the more management you're gonna need.
Yeah, 100%.
Whether you outsource that or you do it that yourself, you're gonna have to be on top of it. You don't want things sit. If you get a bad tenant, you don't want that going on for years and years and years. That's nightmare. Always got a story, and let's try to stay away from that as much as possible.
100%.
Rental income to find. Qualities of good rental property, cash flow calculator. Joel will kind of go over the cash flow calculator in a minute. So there's qualities of good rental properties. Right now, the market is slower. I'm sure most of you guys have probably seen that. There's not crazy amounts on there, but there is still lots of good rental properties on there. So when you're looking for a rental, I'll dive a little bit deeper into this later, but you're looking for a good quality rental, more or less you're looking for something that's kind of a fixer upper. And you don't want to be getting into the expensive stuff. You know, you have to do like a whole foundation, roof, your furnace, that's stuff that's out of pocket and expensive. And if you just fix your furnace, that's not something that's gonna improve the quality of that rental for a potential renter or a buyer immediately. They're gonna walk in and still notice your third floors, carpet on the walls, what have you.
No, that's true. This cash flow calculator. So I mentioned the opportunity to talk to Jack and I on a one-on-one basis. This is what we use to help clients figure out if the property is worth it or not. We're gonna give this to you if you sign up for that that one-on-one, because you need it. If you're serious about this and you actually want to find out, what your situation, what you should be doing for your situation, you need to be running these numbers, right? Now, this is just one sheet in the cash flow calculator. There's 3 different sheets in this file. There's also one that will help you calculate the refi. If you're going to refinance a property, how much you need to cash flow on the new purchase to cover that. And then some basic mortgage mortgage qualification calculations. So this is available to you if you want. Got to sign up for that info for the consultation, just because then we can show you how to use it. But that's coming later. Funding rental properties, usually 20% down. If you're already sitting pretty at home, okay, and you're buying another property and the intent is rental, 20% down. If you're going to move into, if you're going to buy a duplex, a triplex, a quad, and you're going to live in one of the units, and so that becomes your primary residence, 5% down. There's benefit to that, 100%. There are programs out there that allow you to buy a second home with 10% down. If you decide a year down the road to rent that out, that's up to you. You can't buy with the intent of renting under the second home program, but there are stipulations to that. But it's something where if you know that, okay, I'm maybe down the road I want to do this, that's viable. Rental income will help you qualify, right? Now, not all of it. Every lender, this is what I've been going through all week. Every lender has their different rental calculations. Some will let you use 50% of the income. Some will let you use 85% of the income. But then the question is, what expenses are they going to use? Will they let you only calculate the mortgage payment, or do they want to know mortgage payment, taxes, insurance, heat and hydro? Different lenders, different calculations. short story is rental income will help you qualify.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We got a question. I think you kind of touched on it from Jen there. Just if you're buying a new house to move into and renting the current house you're living in with 20% beat down. So you kind of touched on that. If you're moving into that new one, you don't have to do that 20. You obviously could. A lot of people don't. A lot of people like paying that 20% for that CMHC factor, but you don't have to pay that 20% if you're moving into one and you like you touched on a second home.
If you're buying a house to move into, okay, and renting the current house, okay, you are living in, would it be 20% down? No. So you've already got the mortgage on the house that that you're living in right now, right? So that qualification's already happened. Yeah, that doesn't change. You're right. They're not going to change your mortgage just because you turned it into a rental. But so the next house you move into, again, can be 5% down because it's a primary residence. So that's actually a very good strategy as well. Buy one house, live in it for a little while, at least a year, and then go buy another house if you have the cash for that. Maybe you refinance the home and use the down payment to buy another house to move into, and then turn what like you say, Jen, turn your current home into a rental. That's 100% possible. And the house you buy, the new home, primary residence you are buying, is 5% down in that case.
I think they answered her question.
Perfect. Rental interest rates do come out of premium. So you're paying usually anywhere from 0.2 to 0.5% more for rentals, depending on the lender. And it's super important to know your numbers, hence the mortgage calculator, or sorry, the cash flow calculator. All right.
So buy, hold, sell. So you want to sell your rentals strategically to fund investments and dividend paying stocks, or just live off the profit. So a lot of this is kind of a retirement. When you get up to whatever age you feel comfortable in retirement, a lot of people go, do I want to keep doing this cash flow thing? It's nice, it works every month, or is it time to get out and sell? So like you got here, land is scarce. Like you're not like waterfront. You're not making any more waterfront property. What's there? Everybody wants waterfront. So you just kind of want to crank up your retirement maybe early. And you're just looking to offload some homes and you don't have to deal with any tenants. Some of the things to think about when you're doing that is a lot of people who are looking, single families who are looking to buy a home are not looking for a lot of work. The investors are generally looking for work or stuff that cash flows very well. So you want to find something, if you're going to sell it, you want to do the basics. Like I always tell people, have your floors. If they need work, your floors, do the paint the walls, paint your trim, make it look nice. And then lastly would be your countertops. Those are the three things that are usually the easiest to do. Normally these expensive, but they can crank up your value of your home very quickly. You walk into a house, like when you walk in, you notice the brand new floors. You notice it's been painted. You go into the kitchen, wow, this kitchen looks good, and then all they've really done is the countertops. So those are just some like little things if you're thinking about selling, like maybe closer to retirement, or even right now, right? You want to get best bang for your buck. Those are some things to do that are not crazy expensive, but definitely go a long way.
The biggest thing here, taxes. If you've built up a rental portfolio and you don't want to manage tenants in retirement, that makes a lot of sense. It also means you're going to have to sell off your properties, and selling rental properties, you are charged a capital gains tax. Usually when you sell your home, your primary residence, you don't pay any taxes on the profit you make on that. But everything else, rental properties that you don't live in, 50% of the profit is taxable. So I'll let an accountant actually dive into that for you. How you sell your properties in retirement matters. And an accountant is going to be the one to tell you when to sell and when not to sell.
And how to sell. And that's when you start to get things, you'll hear people like, did you incorporate? That changes your taxes a little bit. Obviously, we're not tax professionals. But those definitely go to your accountant or financial advisor. But those are little things that not a lot of people know or ask or reach out for help. They just think, I'll just sell it and hope for the best, when there's little things you can do. If you're beats you from paying 20% tax compared to 50% tax, that's 30% back in your pocket.
Another piece, we actually kind of touched on it in the first strategy where like today's prices, tomorrow's rents. So, you know, if you've held a property for 20 or 30 years, the rent at that point is going to be significantly different and hopefully more, you know, usually historically much more than when you bought it. And if you haven't refinanced the property a whole lot, you have a very small, if any, mortgage on the property at all. So it's all cash flow. So another reason to not sell properties to fund your retirement is because you just got really good rents. That could be a thing, and if you like that, but finding these though.
So finding these can be tricky. Like I said, in the market right now, there's not an abundance. Usually spring, summertime is when you get a lot of things coming on the market, but there still is things or are things on the market currently right now. So to find them, you want to look for your best resale value. So if something's already done up and it cannot be done anymore, chances are if you're trying to flip that in a year, 2 years time, you're not going to be, it's all about where the market's at. It's not going to matter what you really did to the house.
No, it's true.
So you got to look at like some up and coming areas. Like I think at areas like Trillium Woods right now. I mean, those are new homes, but they're developing a lot over there, right? Up on Airport, they're developing a lot up there. And then stuff that lasts. So single families, people always need single families. There's always people moving to work, leaving for work, what have you. Those are the stuff that's always going to be around. We'll get into duplexes and triplexes later, but those are the things that are always going to be around, that always last. And historically, not always, they increase in value, especially when you do work to them. When you buy that single family, I'm just throwing figures out here, and you guys will probably make fun of me. Buy one for $150,000. I don't see that much anymore. You do your renovations, it's only going to go up in value. You can get that little things that get that reappraised, and then you can take that extra equity, buy your next one. Buy low, fix, either rent, sell high. That's usually the name of the game. It's just finding those. That's where I come into play. I can help you as much as I can find properties. I can do queries, kind of things that are even just talking to the other agents in my office. Sometimes there'll be things like, in 2 weeks, I got this coming up. And if I know, hey, I got a client, maybe we can get this done before it gets to the market. Little things like that. It's better to ask and not know, right?
Yeah, 100%. Funding this, I mean, in this case, you know, there's nothing to fund. You're selling. You know, buying it but you're buying a rental, right? But the exit strategy is different. So qualifying for a rental is, you know, it's all the same. But in this case, now selling, it's there's nothing to fund at this point. So the real focus when you're selling to fund retirement is talking to an accountant and understanding when and in what way to sell these things so that you're not getting slammed with taxes. Flipping houses.
Yeah, like we touched on, buy the homes, make them pretty, sell them, use the profit to fund retirement, or maybe fund your next flip.
Yeah.
Either or. You can't, you hear the term lipstick on a pig all the time. People just try to make it look pretty just enough to sell it, but you can't fix up a house that's either brand new or has already been renovated. What more are you going to do? Whether it's, I mean, people can put it on a pool in, but historically it doesn't really crank up the value of the home. It's finding those lesser value homes that need work, not the big stuff. Like I was saying earlier, like, you know, your furnaces and maybe redoing the foundation. That's big stuff costing. There's a lot of unknowns. Your small stuff, just cosmetically, you go in there, you say that this thing needs a facelift. This thing gets a facelift. It looks like $1 million. You are going to increase that profit. You're going to be able to charge more for rent and or sell more.
Yeah, short-term profit, and also you're getting deals with these usually, right? Like, even though you have to put work into it, you know, usually the amount of work you're putting into it multiplies value. So maybe you want to keep the properties. You actually get like your pick of you get your pick of the litter when you're flipping properties if you want to keep them as rentals. So why not? I mean, it's time, energy, capital intensive. This takes work. You got to know what you're doing. And if you don't, I am not a contractor. I don't swing hammers very well. But I can manage a contractor, you know. If you're a good if you're a good project manager, you don't necessarily have to get your hands dirty. You can just make sure that just coordinate the trades and make sure that all the work is being done on time and on budget. I mean, it's almost never done on budget, but within reason. And if you're good at that, then you can flip houses without having to be the one doing all the work. This is a side gig. This is a side hustle. It is something that, well, usually it is something that you're doing as active income rather than just collecting checks every month. But you're making large chunks of profit that you can just shovel away into TFSAs or RRSPs, or like you said, use to buy another property, right? Just keep rocking. So managing contractors and trades, if you're good at that, great. If you're not, maybe rethink it. And it's market sensitive. I know flippers who bought at the height spring last year, and they got stuck. They planned on having the flip done by August, and they're still holding the properties with the professionals. So they had contingencies. They just ended up renting them out because rents are insane right now, and they would actually, almost cover all their expenses. So even though they're taking a bit of a hit, they're able to wait things out because they understood how to plan for the worst case scenario. And I think that's really the biggest thing to understand. And what's your worst case scenario, and can you live with that?
Yeah, just to touch on that, why not? Just because, for example, we may help you along the way to get to that. Just because someone says you should be doing this, it doesn't mean you have to do it, right?
Right.
If financially it doesn't work for you, don't do something. Don't put yourself in a hole just because someone said do it. Weigh the costs, weigh the benefits. Talk to a financial advisor. Like, where am I financially? Talk to a guy like Joel. Like, what can I afford without breaking the bank?
Yeah.
Talk to someone like me who's be able to find you. Like, you know what? This home's pretty low. You could probably get it for around this price. Joel says it's well within your budget. Maybe that's a good place for you. If it's not, don't go out of your budget just for going out of your budget. Oh my God, this house is beautiful. I don't have to do that much work. But you know what? I'm strapped. I'm house poor now. Those are some of the why nots. Sometimes that's not always said.
Yeah.
People just kind of, someone told me just to buy a bunch of houses and flip them and it should be no big deal. There's why nots. There's always why nots not to do something. So definitely ask around. Just don't get it stuck in your head. Ask around, ask people, know where you sit.
Yeah. Finding a flip.
Like I said, finding a good flip, you want to find something that not a lot of cosmetic, but like your big ones, I always tell people, is your floors. Something that you go in there, you got some old musty carpet or whatever. Okay, floors, I can do that. I know kind of where my budget's at for floors. The next would be, it just needs a paint job. How easy is the paint? I'm not a good painter and I can get painted done. And then the third thing would be, I tell people, is countertops. Countertops, everything makes your kitchen look like $1 million. And then you can get into other things, like even your bathrooms or different pot lights and stuff like that. But those are definitely the things you look for in a good flip. It's just the minor upgrades. You don't want to, it has been done, it can be done. But if you're just kind of getting into it, maybe
don't take on a whole lot.
Don't take on more than you think you can handle. Look for those little things, because a lot of times people don't like doing work. Believe it or not, people are inherently lazy. They don't like doing work, but it takes money to make money. You want to put the time in, it'll pay dividends for you. And then you got to look at your profit loss. How much is it going to cost me? How much time am I going to lose? How much money am I going to lose, if any? And then like a bad flip, like I was saying, is the big stuff, big structural stuff. Like that's kind of an unknown. You may have a home inspector goes, hey, you're probably going to need a professional look at your structure. Some people take that with a grain of salt. They go, it's not falling over. I'm okay. Buy the house 6 months down the road. It goes, I got to redo my whole foundation. That's going to be $50K. I don't have $50K.
Right.
Then what? Right. So those are just some, like the bad flips, are just don't get in over your head. Ask people's advice. 1, 2, ask us. We're not the gurus. We're giving you as much professional advice as we can, but there's good flips, bad flips. Just try not to get in over your head. That's my biggest tip.
In walkthroughs, when buyers are doing walkthroughs with you, how often do they bring contractors with them?
Very seldom. They do home inspections, which is, I'd never deter anybody from doing a home inspection. I mean, during height of COVID, home inspection, a lot of times when you see that, we got 16 other offers without that. But right now, home inspection is completely normal. Conditions are normal. Always good to get a home inspection. He may not be able to tell you the price, but he could say, this is a concern.
Right.
And then you weigh your costs and benefits. Say, hey, I don't have a budget if I get into foundation, if I get into a roof. I have a budget to redo a toilet. You know what I mean? So home inspections, those are very common. That's never a bad person to bring along. If you're you don't really know what you're doing. You're just kind of getting into the game and are unsure.
Yeah.
Cover your butt.
100%. Funding this stuff. The biggest piece here is marketability. You know, lipstick on a pig. I mean, it sounds like a funny phrase and maybe a little vulgar, but honestly, that's like, especially when you're starting out, it's the best place to start if you're, because from a lender's perspective, they're asking themselves and they're evaluating, can we resell this property should the borrower default? They don't know you. All they know is what they see on paper. What they see on paper needs to convince them that you're worth the risk. And then they also need to see in the property itself that, okay, should life happen, and even though this person is solid on paper, maybe they get derailed and they can't afford the mortgage payments anymore. Can we resell this house reasonably quickly? Because lenders don't like owning houses. They like owning mortgages. So if it really is, so this kind of flows into the next point, you know, is it a full gut reno or is it a cosmetic reno? If it's a full gut reno in a rough neighborhood, you're gonna have a hard time funding it, or you're going to pay lender, like a larger lender fee up front plus, you know, higher interest rates because they're mitigating risk. Okay, that's how lenders mitigate risk. They charge more. They make more money up front just in case they lose money on the back end. The other thing is it a live-in flip? Honestly, first flip, buy a home that's rough but still livable and fix it up for the next year. Live in it for a year. That's a tax thing. Don't ask me, ask an accountant. Live in it for a year and take your time in fixing it up. And then when you know, the work that you put into it, again, it multiplies the value. And so if it's livable, it's marketable, right? And that makes it a lot easier to get funding. Also, because you're living in it, you only pay 5% down. So that makes it a lot easier to afford as well. Plus, less money you're putting towards down payment means more money you're putting towards rentals. So something to, you know, do the math for. And then, you know, honestly, when I'm helping people buy houses and rentals, I'm asking them, how much do you have for down payment? How much do you have for closing costs? But when people are buying flips, I'm saying, how much do you have for down payment, closing costs? How much do you have for renos? And how much of a buffer do you have for when you need to dip into emergency funds, right? So if you don't have a buffer, if you have reno funds, but you know, you plan on using it all and you're not really planning for a buffer, you're setting yourself up for failure. Not 100%, but should things go wrong and you go over budget, you're adding a lot more stress to your life than need be.
Yeah, I think one thing the fund post-closing process, which you talked to Joel about. If, for example, you're doing, there's programs that Joel can offer. Like if you're doing, say, hey, I want to purchase this house, but the kitchen is not livable. Like you can't, it's not a kitchen. It doesn't work. And go, okay, how can I fund that? I don't have, you know, however much it is off the hop. I have it. Maybe I have to put it on credit for a bit, but I don't want to have 10K just sitting in my credit card and take hits, right? So if I'm doing that, what's one way I could fund that or get you to help me fund that?
So funding up front is tricky. There is the Purchase Plus Improvements program that lets you kind of fund after the fact. So usually with Purchase Plus Improvements mortgages, what you're doing is you're getting a mortgage for the value of the home, the purchase price of the home, plus the reno values, the value of the renos, or the cost of the renos, I should say. And now you're not getting the cost, you're not getting the money for the renos up front. What happens is you get the money for the house, the purchase price, and then you do the work, or you have someone else do the work, and then you bring the invoices and receipts to the lender, and the lender releases the funds to pay the contractor. Now, so that could be a way, like if some contractors are familiar with the Purchase Plus Improvements program, so they're willing to do, understanding that you have a mortgage in place that's going to pay them, they'll do the work and take the payment afterwards. Some won't. Some want the payment up front, or they want their payment schedule, you know, their deposits. It depends on who you get. So now I do have a lender who usually most will only do one draw. So they're only going to give you that money once. I have a lender who will do 3 times. So if you only have $10,000, but it's a $30,000 reno, all right, let's put the first $10,000 in, bring the receipts back, and you get your $10,000 back. Do the next $10,000 of renos, bring the receipts, get your $10,000 back, and then complete it. So it allows that $10,000 to go a lot farther, right? And that's only one company that I'm aware of in this moment that will do that, but it's available.
Yeah, and like that $30,000 you spend, 9 times out of 10 is gonna pay you more. For example, if you're selling your house, it's gonna increase it more than $30,000.
100%.
So that's just another way you can make your money back. And then some.
Yep. Be the bank. So this one's a little less about finding the house, finding the right house and investment property, and a little bit more about actually being the lender. So at the beginning, I said real estate isn't passive. This is actually the thing that comes closest to being passive income, because literally you're just writing up, you're working with me as a broker to qualify the borrower, and we're working together with the lawyer to draft up the mortgage contract. And once that's done, then you're making a private loan to a borrower. Private money you collect a fee up front. You collect a lender fee right off the hop, right at closing, 1%, 2% usually. So there's cash there. And then there's interest checks every month or whatever payment period you decide on together. And you don't have to worry about any of the work. So it's pretty passive. You just collect the fees and the interest. And then private money is usually short-term, anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. 2 years is a long time, 6 months is pretty short. The sweet spot is 9 to 12 months. That's usually what a private mortgage sits at. And this is obviously a little bit further down the road. So you've made some money, you've got stuff in what you call, you've got some money in RRSPs. You take that money out of the RRSP and put it into what's called a self-directed RRSP. And you now control the investments in that account. So you can lend on real estate, and it's comes at a bit of a tax advantage, right? So, but the piece here is you got to be picky, right? So you aren't defaulting. You don't have to worry about that, but you have to make sure or take reasonable steps. And this is where me as a broker comes in, that your borrower isn't going to default. Default sucks no matter if you're the lender or the borrower, right? This is why you need to be picky. This is why I run my qualification on the borrower. I will say right off the hop, flippers with a track record, good flippers, good contractors who know what they're doing, who have several properties that they've bought, renoed, and sold for a profit already, are the best, because usually they can get stuff done within 6 to 9 months. So they're going to go in, they're going to take your money, they're going to use your money to actually do the renos, and they're going to make they're going to pay you all your fees, they're going to make a profit and pay you back in short order. And I mean, it's not foolproof, but those are the easiest to fund when it comes to private money. And all of that money is being just deposited back into your RRSP. So in this case, you're kind of not really looking for properties, you're looking for people, right? But the property still matters. So that's why, so Zach could end up coming to me with a borrower who is, you've known them forever and they're a flipper and they know how to do this stuff. They've got a track record. Right. And they already qualify for the purchase price. They're just looking for money for the renos now. And you have $60,000 sitting in your RRSP, and I approach you, or you've approached me in the past to say, hey, if you've got anyone, this is my criteria, this is what I want to make. I say, perfect. This comes up, it's like, hey, here's the opportunity, $60,000, 6-month mortgage, 1% up front, 12% monthly. Are you willing to do that? Sure, let's do that. All right, let's draft it up. And then obviously I am qualifying the buyer at that point, but you know that Zach is helping that buyer find the right property. You know that I'm qualifying the buyer from the numbers perspective. So it's never guaranteed, but you have a little bit more to rely on in that case. And funding it, you are the one funding this. This comes from your self-directed RRSPs, and you are the bank. It's kind of simple that way. I mean, simple concept that way, you know, but let lawyers do their job and draft up the contracts. So, anything on this before we move on?
No. Any questions, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
No question is a bad question.
1, 2, 3, retire.
Yeah.
Buy a single family home, duplex it, then triplex it. What the hell does that mean? Well, I'll let you go.
I'll take on this one. So duplex it, triplex it. The government, I know the government kind of did something right for once, weird. They have a new initiative. It's not in yet, but some people are already taking advantage of it. So you have a single family and maybe you have a basement with a side entrance. You got 3 bedrooms upstairs, you got 1 downstairs. So that has potential. Well, people call it granny suite now. They call it granny suite because it's not a legal duplex. Now you have the potential to make it a legal duplex. So instead of having 1 home, bringing in, just throwing numbers here, $1,800 plus utilities a month. Now you have 2 units, one bringing you in $1,800, one bringing you in $1,500 a month. So you just almost doubled your cash flow, or your money coming in. And that's all done with that new initiative I was telling you about with the Ford government. Basically making it easier to duplex and triplex things. And another thing which not a lot of people know about. So if you have a detached garage or a attached garage, you can turn that into another unit. So you got that upstairs, that downstairs, your duplex, you got a garage too. You can turn that 3rd one into a unit, make it a legal triplex. Another unit brings in more money. So you bought a single family, let's say at 250, and then you meet it into a triplex. This is not always true. Don't quote me for this. When you're selling a triplex, it usually sells more than it does for a single family. And if you're trying to resell a triplex, let's say you bought it 250, you're probably closer to selling it for 500. Obviously, it depends what your rentals are like and stuff like that. But that's just one way that the government's trying to curb this housing shortage, I guess you can say. And for people who are investing, great opportunity. You already have a property, it's a single family, but it has potential. Make it a triplex, 3 times the rent.
It's you don't technically have to go buying a bunch of properties for this. Actually, I'm going to pause for a moment. Okay, so Wes, you asked the question, how much money would you say you need before being able to be the bank? Honestly, like as much money as you're willing to lend out, right? So the thing you have to think about, it comes down to more of a tax question, because like how much are you putting into your RRSPs? And that's, so how much do you have available in the RRSP? So if you have $50,000 available in the RRSP, you could technically lend all of that out if you wanted to, as long as it's in a self-directed RRSP. And you know, technically, like I don't know who's doing $20,000 private loans. I don't hear about that too much, but usually, you know, $50,000 and up. Yeah, I mean, any amount is technically ready. It really comes down to need. So what usually happens is I talk to people and say, hey, is this something you're interested in? We talk and I see what your appetite is, how much risk you're willing to take on, what kind of terms you're looking for. And you know, we decide whether or not A, this is going to happen, this is good. And then B, if you know, what kind of borrower you ideally want. And then when those kind of borrowers come up, then I talk to you and say, hey, do you still have that money available? I have a borrower that fits, you know, what we discussed. So that's kind of how that process goes. It's not always right away, but it is just another way to kind of let your RRSPs work for you. If you don't want them in the stock market, you can have it in mortgages.
And then just to touch on the whole different ball game. We're not going to go into that too much, but sometimes people use, like Joel said, those RRSPs, they use that to lend for a down payment. Not often, it does happen. And realistically, you're lending for a down payment, you're getting your lender fee, you're getting your interest on it, you're getting your money back. If you want to do that, that's an option for you. That's a whole different ball game. It does get a little tricky going down that route, like VTBs and stuff like that. It's a little bit more risk, but there is, like, if you're just doing, for example, $20,000, you're looking just to lend that out. That's kind of where that kind of comes into play, like lending down payments to people and getting your fees and your 1-2% interest back. But that's there's a little bit more risk in doing that.
Yeah. Lending a down payment is really tricky because the person who's borrowing a down payment now has to qualify on completely different terms. Some lenders won't even look at people who are borrowing down payments. And if they're trying to hide that, I'm generally just not gonna work. Like, I'm the kind of guy who likes to be upfront about everything. And that means that, like, there's a lot of corners that I guess technically could be cut that, you know, I miss out on, but I'm okay with that. Now, there are lenders who will take borrowed down payments. That is a thing. We will work with those lenders and we will be upfront with them. Because they need to know what they're getting into. I would hate it if I were lending someone money and I believe that they were putting their own money into a property, they had their own skin in the game, only to come to find out they had another debt load that they had to service, and it became too much and it crippled them financially. So it's just something you got to be, it is a possibility, something to be aware of. Back to this 1, 2, 3 retire. Single family, duplex, triplex. You could technically like buy your first home, work with Zach to find a bungalow with a sizable basement and separate entrance, detached garage. Doesn't even technically have to be a
detached garage.
Yeah, and technically there doesn't even have to be a garage. Like you could build this from the ground up, that third unit. Yep. But it's just easier to retrofit.
If one's already there, just to kind of retrofit it.
Less expense. So and you've just tripled, I don't want to say it that way. You've just turned a single family into a 3-unit. When you want to downsize and retire, you've got 3 sources of income and you only had to buy 1 property. So if you don't necessarily want to be like a career investor, or you don't want a massive portfolio, it's a good way to go. Or maybe this is what you do with all your properties. Move in, rent out the basement, build the 3rd unit, move out, have that whole thing rented, move into the next place, do it again. Now you have 6 units and you only have 2 properties, you know, depends on how you want to rock. Why not? Good question.
Yeah, why not? There's always, I'm sure everyone here's heard the horror stories of terrible tenants, or you had to live with someone who doesn't do the dishes, doesn't pay, got a dog that craps all over the house, whatever. Yeah. There's lots of why nots here. It's always the horror stories that scare people away from taking the leap.
Yeah.
But it's never a bad question. Like I said, a lot of the why nots are just you're worried about tenants not playing or actually destroying the place. That's always
you got to live with your tenants. Can you do that?
Yeah, if you're getting like maybe an duplex, if someone's already in the basement, or you're gonna share a basement, you got to live with your tenants, right? They're below you. You got to live with them. But on the same token, it goes, do I live with them for 3 years? They pay my mortgage for 3 years. Now I can go buy that house in the lake that I really want.
Yep.
Now I can rent out the upstairs, and then these people are still paying my mortgage.
Yep.
Those are why nots. There's always positive and negatives, but I think the benefits outweigh the risk in this situation.
Like I honestly, when I sat down to like figure this one out, I'm like looking at it, all the other ones. It was easy as hell to figure out what the cons were, you know. And this one I'm thinking about, I'm like,
not many.
There's not. Like if you're going to quote unquote safely invest in real estate, this is probably the way to get started and test the water. And really the only thing I could think of was, well, you have to live with the tenants. But after that, like, you know, you're getting the 5% down because you're living in it. The house you're living in, the mortgage is being paid off either fully or partially because of the renter. And then you can build the 3rd unit, and now the whole house is being rented out. Maybe you move into the 3rd unit, and so you're now living in a brand new unit and probably not paying anything for it because now you're renting out both the other units. And then when you want to downsize, you've got 3 units. You've probably built relationships with the tenants. I'm just like, maybe I'm too much of an optimist in this case, and maybe you folks can think of some like really bad like scenarios here, but I actually had a hard time coming up with cons for this one. So finance.
Yeah, like you said, those bungalows, it's been a sizable lot for that 3rd detached garage.
Yeah.
Have you 2-car garage, 2-bedroom, 2-car garage is another one. Full basement that has a separate entrance is usually pretty key, especially if you're like a first-time home buyer. That way, more or less, someone's paying your mortgage.
Yeah.
You're more or less, not 100% always. Sometimes it is. You're living for free.
Yeah.
Someone else is paying it for you. So you got that second side entrance. And then you can just make it legal, make it legal duplex. That way, if you do come to resell it, that's one of the first questions people ask. Is it legal? Here's my paperwork. Yes, it is legal.
That's the biggest thing.
Cranks up your resale value, definitely.
Yeah.
Those are the fines. Usually those bunkos, a little bit of fixing up to do, not anything crazy, not like as soon as you buy it, it's $100,000. That's it's usually people who do that have been in the game for a long time and have that capital that they can do that. Not that saying that none of you guys can, but these are the ones you want to be looking for. They're kind of your easiest flips to just kind of starting to get into the real estate flipping and buying and rental game.
Yep, true. Funding this stuff, again, 5% down. This is actually something where the Purchase Plus Improvements program we talked about, that could actually come into play here. So, you live in it, you use a Purchase Plus Improvements mortgage to help fund the renos of the basement unit, turning the basement into a unit. And then so now you've duplexed it, right? It's a legal duplex. And its value, you've increased the value just by doing that alone. Well, you could get it reappraised. Okay, I'll give you a bit of an example. I used to work with, I lived in Hamilton for a while, and I worked with a realtor team out there who exclusively almost did this, duplexing bungalows out in Hamilton. And they had this down to so much science where they would buy the bungalow. They knew exactly what they were looking for. They knew all of the bylaws and building code that was necessary. So they knew exactly what would need to happen to the house, like what it didn't have, what it did have. They would coach their clients through that process, get help. The clients would get all of that done, get it legalized. They would refi, have enough, and the value would be much more, and they would refi after a year, sometimes a little bit sooner depending on the lender, and they would have enough of enough value in the house just by duplexing it that they could pull out the equity and buy another one, and they were still cash flowing because the rents were so good. And they would do that over and over and over again, and a lot of their clients built portfolios that way.
Yeah, and to touch on that one, just a story myself. Good friend, a client too. That's what he's done. He's got two there. He duplexed them both. Now he's bringing in his cash flowing. One of them is his home he lives in, so he lives for free. He's bought 4 in the last 2 years in North Bay. Same thing. He found things that needed minor upgrades. He basically did everything I told you guys: the floor, the paint, the countertops. Sometimes he's done some bathrooms. I mean, if they're really outdated, I get it. And he's really got them all reappraised. I think his last one he just did came in $180,000 more than what he paid for it. Awesome. So he's like, I got my next down payment. Yep. And it's still cash flowing. He's not losing any money, and he's just keep rolling. And now with the new duplex triplex thing, that's supposed to come in effect, I think, early summer. Yeah. He's onto that now, right? He's looking for things that can be transitioned into duplexes and triplexes.
There you go. Okay, what do I do with this info? Really, what do you want to do in retirement? Do you want to be managing tenants, or do you want like zero work? Or, some people need something to focus on. I know a buddy of mine who bought up like 10 properties 4 years ago. His dad retired, and he just manages his son's properties, and he loves it. That's what he wants to do in retirement. But that's not everybody, right? Some people want to be sitting on the beach like that. So it's up to you, right? What strategy best fits your retirement lifestyle? That's where we come in, and that's what the 30-minute consultation would be. And obviously, like, stuff changes, but what do you want right now? What do you envision retirement to be? And based on that, then we can say, okay, why don't you try flipping? Or you probably just want to find a good bungalow and like go through the process of duplexing and triplexing.
Find a good rental.
Yeah.
Cash flow for a while until maybe you're ready for retirement. Sell, nice chunk of change. Hopefully double your investment. That's usually the plan, but
if not more. So, we need to be able to kind of go through that though. And then who's got your back? Okay, this is so stinking important. So obviously, realtor, mortgage broker, I've talked about the accountant so many times already in this hour, and we've talked about the lawyer several times too. You have to have people you trust, who you know are going to be able to catch the details. And if you have a solid team, there's more people, like, you know, if you don't want to necessarily be the property manager, you need a damn good property manager.
Yep.
You need contractors you can trust and who are reliable, you know, so there's a lot more kind of around the seams on this, but this is the core. And if you've got a good core team, all the rest will fall into place. So that kind of brings us to our next step. So there's a few things that are going to happen, and we'll wrap up. If you have any questions, actually, this is a good time for questions. So what are your thoughts on Airbnb on a property rather than having full-time tenants? Airbnb could bring in more cash flow in a month, but tenants are more safe and guaranteed income. You know, Airbnb comes down to municipal bylaws.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna touch on. Maybe I'll hit that one
Go
right
for it.
now. So with North Bay's bylaws, not a lot of people know this. If it's not your primary residence, you can't Airbnb it. But then again, quote unquote, that's not really enforced. It's kind of complaint driven.
Yeah.
So you buy that second one, it's just looking for a rental. Technically, you're not allowed to Airbnb it. Does it happen? 100% it does. It's all complaint driven. And then usually when people are getting into Airbnbs, you can charge, you got a nice place, you can charge a good amount, but then you're hoping someone's going to do that. You don't have anything steady. So there's cost benefits to each one. And the second thing is generally when you're getting an Airbnb, depending where it is, you got to worry about the parties, right? A lot of times people get Airbnbs. It's not sometimes, but it's not always just for, oh, I just need a place to rest my head for the night or 2 nights and move on. A lot of times people are going, okay, I'm from a different city. I don't want to pay $250 for a hotel. I'll go get an Airbnb for $150 a night. Not their home. They don't really care about it. And there are fees associated with Airbnb that not a lot of people take into account. Maybe able to charge whatever X amount of dollars for a night or a weekend, but there's also Airbnb takes some fees too, which is kind of been deterring some people, but some people still love it and they do make good money on it.
I will say this. If you intend to turn it into an Airbnb, don't tell me. Because lenders will not lend on that. Will not. I do have a couple that will, but you're going to be paying 9%, 9% interest. And there's probably a lender fee involved in that. It's a whole other risk calculation for them. And because of the unpredictability of short-term rentals, they just decide not to do it. I know some people are doing it through commercial mortgages. So they are incorporated and they're buying places through commercial mortgages. And commercial mortgages, they're asking some very pointed questions, but they're not as iffy about the whole Airbnb thing. You know, commercial mortgages, you're paying a little bit more, maybe 6, 7, 8%. Well, probably more like 7 or 8%, but you know, it's slightly less than that 9%. But so that's another piece. Like funding an Airbnb, definitely different. Now again, what's the purpose of the cottage? Good question. Would the same go for a cottage? Not necessarily. So where's the cottage? Again, comes down to bylaws.
Yeah, because I believe it's in Bondfield, you're not allowed Airbnbs, or a lot of municipalities, you have to go and pay like for permits.
Yeah.
To get an Airbnb, and sometimes you can get one bad Airbnb and just ruins it for you. If that was your plan, Airbnb the whole time, it can just ruin it for you. But don't get me wrong, I know people that Airbnb beautiful houses on the lake, and they're making the Airbnb that 3 times in summer that pays for the year's costs.
Yeah.
But when you just kind of get into the rental, generally, not always, but generally you don't want to get that high-end property on the lake. You just hope to Airbnb.
It's again like purpose, right? So if you're buying a cottage, there are a set of guidelines and rules for that too, right? You're going to need your 10% down, depending on if it's like a four season cottage or a 2-season cottage or a 3-season cottage. You know, there's different rules for that. So funding, and then if they know that you're going to be renting it out, then that's a whole other qualification, right? So again, what's the purpose that you are communicating? Don't defraud the lenders. Do not defraud lenders. But yeah, and then Matthew's chipping in here. If you are planning on scaling your portfolio, don't Airbnb, as future lenders cannot/will not take into account the short-term rental income. It's actually a very good point. They won't. it's if it was an Airbnb, and you want to turn it into a rental, what's going to happen? Okay, two kind of scenarios to look at here. If you want to turn an Airbnb into a rental, it was an Airbnb, it was used as a short-term rental, and you want to turn it into a long-term rental, you want to install permanent tenants. You don't have a history of rents to run on. So what you have to rely on then is appraised rents, so market value rents from an appraiser. And honestly, those often come in less than what you were expecting. Not always, but that's a little bit more, it's iffy. You're depending on someone else's judgment, right? Whereas if it was already a rental and there are already rents in place, you can use those. Now, there's also an argument to be made there that if they're dated rents, from like 3, 4, 5 years ago, it's crap rent to go on anyway. So you still want those that market analysis or market appraisal for the rents. But all right, and the second piece to this is if you plan on turning it into an Airbnb, there's no way, there's no income calculation for that with renter or with lenders. So they're not going to say, okay, you could get $3,000 a month in short-term rental income. We're going to use X amount of that income. Nope, it's just we're not using any of that. So it's a good point. Any other questions before we move on? I don't want to say don't do Airbnb. I'm just saying know what you're getting into, right? Like it's not like people are making money on this, but just know what you're getting into. And people chase dollar signs, and that's dangerous. If you're in it just for the cash flow, I would check you, because that's where people get burned. And we're seeing that play out right now. I am seeing that play out where people who got greedy in the last run up, I'll use greedy very carefully. Okay, overzealous. Let's say that they got overzealous in the last run up, bought properties, rental properties, even long-term rental properties at the height of the market, installed tenants at less than market value rents, or even at market value rents at that point. But because they all had, investors usually favor variable mortgages because they're cheaper in the long run. They have variable mortgages, so their mortgages have skyrocketed, but the rents haven't done anything. So they're not underwater, but they're trying to qualify on even just renewing a mortgage in their portfolio. And it's hard because all of their mortgages have gone up, but their rents haven't. So again, if you're chasing dollar signs, that's dangerous.
One more question from Wes. He's just asking, do you have any knowledge on how difficult it is to get Airbnb customers for cottage in the winter season? It's like a cottage in the lake. So I actually have a client of mine who does that. And to be completely honest, it's on the lake. He makes more money in the summer than he does in the winter, but that's not to say he doesn't make money in the winter. You get the sledders, and a lot of it is dependent on your sledding season, right? And you're on the lake, it was freezing today, but if you kind of got a crap winter around here, it's okay, why someone Airbnb in that? A lot of times if it's on the lake, it's for sledding, snowshoeing, what have you. The difficulty, a lot of it's weather dependent, I think.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, it can be done. And another thing, this client, he gets a lot of his actually from a lot of people that are North Bay.
Yeah.
He gets them in Airbnb status, but they're like, okay, we're gonna stay for 6 months, 3 months. So it's technically under Airbnb, but it's not like an Airbnb, just like a weekend thing.
They're using Airbnb as a platform to manage it, but it's not. Yeah, that's cool. That's actually smart. That's super smart. That's actually a really good point too. Midterm rentals are a thing. So, less than a year, 6 to 8 months or whatever. And a lot, up here, obviously the movies, hydro workers, a lot of times, healthcare workers who are like coming into the hospital for short-term contracts. A lot of folks in like survey and mining industry who are just like flying in, flying out. I know in Toronto it's a bit different. Like they'll get executive rentals, and for executives who come in for like consulting gigs and stuff like that, we don't get that as much up here. But midterm rentals are a thing. It's a good point. Anything else before we move on? We're already over our hour.
I'm fast.
Yeah, man.
That's it in there.
So, okay, so this 30-minute, this 30-minute consultation. Again, what we want to do is we want to give you the cash flow calculator. We want to show you how to use it, and we want to get an idea for what you're looking for. It doesn't mean you have to start buying now. Okay, this is the no strings attached. This is just to equip you with information so that you are more informed as you step into the market. Obviously, we would hope that you work with us if you are going to step into the market, right? But we know that like you need to be prepared, so we want to help prepare you, and that's what this 30-minute consultation is all about. It's just gonna get your find out what you need, and then we go from there. So we have a survey. Where'd it go? It might actually launch. Oh yeah, there we go. I thought this was going too easy. And as a poll instead. Lovely. At when the meeting starts, when the meeting ends, a survey should pop up. If you want to sign up for this 30-minute consultation, it will just ask you. You don't have to answer. If you're not interested, you don't have to answer it. But if you are interested, you can just give us an idea of when, and we'll contact you about actually scheduling a time. So it's just like a basic morning, afternoon, or evening. Give us an idea of when you'd like to have a call, and then we'll get in contact with you to actually schedule the call. But the survey, which hopefully should pop up at the end of the meeting, should just like you putting your hand up saying, hey, I'm interested in this. All right, now let's stop sharing and let's do this giveaway, right? Yep. All right, so yeah. Sweet, okay. So, one, oh yeah, that works too. And let's do this draw. Thank you for sticking around, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that a lot. Both of us, we both appreciate that a lot. Oh heavens. All right. Who is number 4? Mr. Sweeney, Matt Sweeney, you win $50 to Good Glaze. So we'll get what I'll do is I'll email it to you. We'll email it to you. Good Glaze lets us let you buy digital gift cards. So congrats. Again, thank you everybody. This was pretty cool. I think definitely something worth trying again in the future. Do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, definitely cool. Thanks for everybody for showing up. If you guys have any questions or whatever, put them in the chat or feel free to email, call, text. We're both pretty good at answering social media and whatever. I think you have a little link with our, maybe throw that back up just with our contact info in case anybody wants to write it down. Yeah, but feel free to reach out. We can give you any insights if you join to 30-minute consultation or any just general questions that you didn't feel comfortable asking and from the rest of the group. Feel free to reach out. Other than that, yes.
No, that doesn't actually. I guess this doesn't have the what do you call it?
That's okay.
That's all right. Yeah, dude. Thank you, Matt. If you have any specific questions about financing or whatever, I can obviously cover that for you as well. All righty, folks. Definitely. Have a good night. Have a good week. Stay safe. Stay warm. It's freaking cold out. Peace. Enjoy.